And we should be live. Hello, everybody. We're going to be doing some Python today, or at least we're going to mess with some Python today. How's everybody doing? Let me know in the chat if you can see and hear me okay, the usual drill. And also, drop a note and say where you folks are dialing in from. I'm very curious. Greetings. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And if I put you to sleep during this live stream, good night. Hopefully I won't put you to sleep. Hopefully it'll be fun. So here's the basic premise behind this live stream, okay? I have rarely done Python. I've done a little bit of Python once in a while, kind of just mess with it a little bit, but nothing too serious. I don't even know the syntax. I don't know how to code in Python. So I thought, let's start with a clean slate and learn Python, right? We're Java developers and we kind of know how to code. Hopefully we know how to code. We'll see how Python is and what it takes to learn Python. There's a lot of discussion about Python being the new fancy language, right? There's a lot of AI momentum that's going on, and Python is kind of like the language for AI. So let's do some Python and maybe get into some more other aspects of the software engineering, which is not just like web application development, perhaps. But it all starts with taking that first step, and there's going to be my first step in Python. Hopefully, you can join me on this journey and learn Python with me. Wow, a lot of people from all over the world. Hello from Delhi. Hi, Rahul from Egypt, Poland, Serbia. Well, nice to see people from all over the world. Python is my wife, Java is my girlfriend. Okay. All right. For me, it's the other way around. I'm committed to Java and I'm kind of flirting with Python, so it's flipped. But either way, hopefully we'll get to enjoy our time with Python. Germany, Georgia, the country. Wow, nice. I hear people mention Georgia, and like the first thing people assume is the state of Georgia in the U.S. So it's unfortunate they're gonna have to add that in the parentheses. Hello from Turkey, Hyderabad, Bangalore, U.S., Mumbai, another Mumbai, Kerala, Turkey, India, Sri Lanka. Wow, very nice to see all you folks joining in. Somebody asked me about the agenda. What's the agenda? I don't have one, okay? It is, like somebody mentioned, we're going to be flirting with Python, right? I'm a complete Python noob. I don't know much about Python. I might have written like 2 lines of code. So the agenda is I'm going to learn Python in front of you folks and mess around with it, having no idea. So it's very likely going to be a comedy show, is what I'm saying. All right, I have no idea how it's going to be, but here are some ground rules. I want this to be a kind of using free resources. There are a lot of paid courses online. There's a lot of books. I have this book with me, which is supposedly the best way to learn Python. I haven't read it, right? See, the pages look all nice and clean, brand new. If I read it, it's not going to be like this, right? It's going to have a bunch of stickies and all that stuff. So this is new. I haven't touched it. Well, I've touched it, but you know what I mean. What I'm going to do is look at free resources, everything that's available online for free. I'm going to probably start with the official Python website, right? So let's see. I'm going to go to, hang on a second. I'm going to go here. Let me share my screen. Probably I'm going to look at the official website for Python and basically just do that, right? look at. What's the official website for Python? Python.org. Yeah. All right. Here you go. We'll start from here. We're going to look at the official documentation and see if we can learn, see if we can figure it out, right? We're Java developers. We'll see if we can figure it out. It's supposedly easy. That's what my friends tell me, right? Python is supposedly very easy to learn and adapt. And I've been sitting not using this, not learning Python for a long time. So I thought, well, why don't we start this? It's getting to the new year. Well, we'll see how it goes. All right, so let's see. There's a lot of stuff here. Python is a programming language that lets you work quickly and integrate systems more effectively. Awesome. Get started. Let's start from here. Start with our beginner's guide. All right, Python for beginners. Are you completely new to programming? No. If not, we presume you'll be looking for information about why and how to get started with Python. All right. Installing Python, learning Python. We're going to do learning Python, okay? Introductory books, code samples. List of tutorials suitable for experienced programmers. This is what we want. Let's see. Resources. Okay, beginner-friendly Python tutorial. Let's go here. Well, no, this is an official Python documentation. Let's see. Online documentation. Let's take a look at this. Tutorial. Okay, this seems like it. This seems like it. All right, we're going to use this, okay? We're going to use this page to learn Python, all right? And we'll see how it goes. Dynamically typed language. It's supposedly a good thing, right? So that's fine. Installing. Here's what we're going to do, though. We're not going to install Python because that's a mess, right? We don't want to install software into our machines in 2023. It's 2022 now, but we don't do that in 2022 either. What we're going to do is use Docker. I hope you all have Docker installed. If not, why? You should have Docker installed. As developers, Docker is a great way to set up things. So make sure you have Docker installed. I'm also going to open Visual Studio Code and let's get a container, a Python container for us to play around with. Okay. Installing Python on the laptop is for noobs. We're not noobs. We're Python noobs, but we're not programming noobs. So, all right. If you're following along, do you folks want to follow along? I don't know. It'll be like the blind leading the blind, okay? So I don't know what I'm doing. So if you want to follow along and maybe, let me ask you folks a question. How many of you are already familiar with Python? You know Python, you're Python gurus, and you're dialing in here to make fun of me. All right, ignore the last part. How many of you folks are already Python experts? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. I'm curious. Maybe you can help me out if I'm stuck or something like that. How about that? All right. So if you want to follow along, here are some prerequisites. Have Docker installed. Okay. Have the dev container extension installed. Okay. So this is, see, here's the VS Code dev container extension. Okay, I have a couple of people who are good with Python. So I'm going to ask you questions, all right? I'm going to test your knowledge, especially if I'm stuck. So first prerequisite is have Docker installed. Second prerequisite is have VS Code with dev container extension installed. What this lets you do is connect to dev containers, which are Docker containers, and write source code in those containers, right? It's kind of like a remote machine, but it's running on your machine, right? It's a container running on your machine. Okay. I'm a mediocre Python programmer. Well, I'm a mediocre Python programmer too, because I don't know anything. But yeah, I have a feeling that you folks know a little more Python than me. So, but yeah, okay. So we have these two. What we're gonna do is create a Python container on our machine to play with Python. Okay. We're going to do that first, and then we're going to follow the tutorial and see how it can help us. So the way to do this is Command-Shift-P to open the command palette in VS Code and use this option, dev containers, try a dev container sample. Okay, so this is the extension providing you a bunch of predefined containers, so you don't have to go to Docker Hub and search for it. If you know, like, okay, you want to do Go or Rust or whatever, just click that thing. Okay. You can imagine the next live stream coming up. Java developer learns Go for the very first time. I don't know if you have Go or Rust fans here, but I know that we have a lot of Python fans in my community, so we're going to do Python, right? So here's the Python entry. I'm going to hit enter, and what this is going to do is it is going to connect to a Python container. Okay, so it is kind of getting that thing. Let's see here. Okay, here is the log. It is pulling the image from dev container /Python. Okay, for those of you who don't know what Docker is kind of like a containerization solution, which runs a VM on your machine and creates containers that you can connect to and use. Okay, I have a full course on Docker on Java Brains. It's a members only course. So if you're curious, you want to learn about Docker, go check it out. Okay. There are like 100 different courses about Docker online. Okay. But only 2 of them cover the concepts. The rest of them just talk about like, okay, do this and then do that and then do this. That's it, right? Step by step. But what I do is I cover the fundamental concepts and I help you understand what Docker is, like how it works, what it does, and all that stuff. So there are only 2 courses online which does that, okay? And the other one is not that great. So you know what to do. All right. So what this is doing is downloading the image for the Python container that we're going to spin up. Okay. So while it's doing this, let's read through the tutorial. Okay, so this one's not useful. It's actually linking to external links, which is kind of weird. One thing that you should appreciate about Java is that their official documentation on the official website is pretty solid, right? There's a lot of good docs that get you started with Java. It's like it takes you on a full tour. I'm hoping Python is like that. It seems like it has like a very comprehensive list of things to learn. So we'll take a look at this. What's the difference between Docker and Kubernetes? Self-promotions. Yeah, you gotta promote yourself, man. If you don't promote yourself, who else is gonna do it, right? That's a life lesson. Wherever you are, you gotta promote yourself. I'm pretty bad at that, and I'm learning. Okay, I'm learning, and hopefully, I'm gonna inspire you to promote yourself as well. We are living in an age where self-promotion is the norm, and if you aren't promoting yourself, people are gonna think something is wrong with you. All right, so what was I gonna say? I was going to say something and I forgot. But yeah, okay. Difference between Docker and Kubernetes. Docker is the thing that runs. It's a containerization solution. Kubernetes is an orchestration solution. You can think of, if you have an orchestra, a Docker is an instrument player, and the Kubernetes is the guy on the podium going this. Okay, that's the difference. All right, so we're going to start with this one. Okay, the Python tutorial while the image is being downloaded. Python is an easy-to-learn, powerful programming language. Yeah. It's efficient, high-level data structures, and a simple but effective approach to object-oriented programming. But there you go. You can have efficient data structures, and you can have object-oriented programming. All right? Do people do object-oriented programming in Python? I think so. Python's elegant syntax and dynamic typing, together with its interpreted nature, make it the ideal language for scripting and rapid application development in many areas on most platforms. What's interesting is the things that we consider as bad in the Java world are considered as plus points in the Python world, okay? Dynamic typing. We frown upon dynamic typing as Java developers, but Python is going, well, we've got dynamic typing and that's awesome. Interpreted nature, again, that's something that we go, okay, that cannot be efficient, but they go, well, this makes it an ideal programming language for scripting and rapid application development. I tend to believe that because a lot of people have told me that you can do things really fast in Python. The Python interpreter and the extensive standard library are freely available from the source. Okay, I don't want to get from the source. Python interpreter is easily extended with new functions. Don't want to do the interpreter. I want to write code in a file. Old school. The tutorial introduces the reader informally to basic concepts. Awesome. Description of standard objects. See the Python standard library. I'm guessing this is like the Java library that comes with the JDK. The Python language reference gives a more formal definition of the language. I think that's a good place to start. I think we should start with understanding the language, understanding the syntax. So let's go. Whetting your appetite. If you do much work on computers, eventually you'll find that there's some task you would like to automate. Yeah, for example, you may wish to perform search and replace over a large number of text files. Okay, you gotta use grep, bro. You got grep. Rename, rearrange a bunch of photo files in a complicated way. Perhaps you'd like to write a small custom database or a specialized GUI application or a simple game. If you're a professional software developer, you may have to work with several C++, C, Java libraries, but find that the usual write, compile, test, recompile cycle is too slow. Writing a test suite, or maybe, okay, whatever, Python is a language for you. You could write a Unix shell script, but these shell scripts are best at moving files around, changing text data. Okay, this person has clearly not written shell scripts. They can be super powerful. You can say they're difficult to write, but don't say they're best at doing trivial stuff. Okay, you could write or GUI applications or games. Yeah, I give you that. You can't do that with shell scripts easily. You could write C, C++, Java program, but it can take a lot of development time to get. Why you do Java like that, bruh? That's not fair. You can do things fast in Java too. My feelings are hurt now. Python is simpler to use, available on Windows, macOS, Unix operating systems, and help you get the job done more quickly. Okay, awesome. Python is simple. It's a real programming language. Okay, I'm going to skip all this stuff and we're going to get to the syntax. Enable programs to be written compactly or readably. Okay, much shorter than equivalent C, C++, or Java programs. Man, they're seriously taking a dig at all the other languages. Wow. All right. Python is extensible. See, the thing is, when you see a language take a dig at other ones, it's almost like they're acknowledging that people are coming from there to here. So those kind of digs are usually a backhanded compliment, or at least I'm gonna treat it that way. The language is named after a BBC show, Monty Python's Flying Circus. See, here's the thing about. I'm gonna get to the syntax seriously, but I don't know. Are you folks Monty Python fans? I've never gotten into it, so I've tried it. Okay, I've tried Monty Python, but I don't know. It's like I haven't found it funny. Okay, it's very irreverent, and I don't know. It's like irreverent is not funny in my opinion. I mean, I know that those guys are pretty talented, right? But for example, some of the other stuff that those folks have done, Faulty Towers, a big fan of Faulty Towers, but the Monty Python sketches themselves, they're kind of hit and miss for me. All right, we're going to go to using the Python interpreter. People are asking about a full course. You folks should know that I'm learning Python for the first time now. Do you really want a course from me? Let me learn and then I'll teach you. Deal? Deal. Okay, so the Python interpreter is usually installed in this place. Well, wherever this is over here. Okay, so it looks like it has installed the image, and now it has something over here. Let's see. I'm going to delete all this stuff. I was playing with this a little earlier, just printing that hello. So I'm going to delete permanently. All I need is the Python environment. Okay, so I don't need the code of conduct. You don't tell me what to do. No license, readme, requirements, security. All these are going to go. Static. Oh, so this is it's actually set up a Flask application. I see. Okay, I'm going to delete this as well. All right, no static. I'm going to create a new file called hello.py, and I'm going to do hello world. Man, I know that there is a print statement. That's the one part of Python that I know. Okay. Oh, so sorry. Thank you for letting me know. I thought that. Yeah. All right. So what I have here is a Python container. I have a bunch of things that were there here. I removed it and I just created a hello.py. Okay, this is the Python container that Docker gave me. I know that there is a print statement, so I'm going to do print of hello world as a nod to Java or C or C++. No semicolons. We don't do semicolons in Python. Okay, so I do this, and then let me open a new terminal, and then I'm going to do Python and then hello.py. Yes, we are all Python programmers now. Okay, so Python has an interpreter. Okay, interesting. They have a let's see, interpreter, kind of like a REPL. Interpreters including interactive editing, substitution. This is the thing where Python used to be really good at, right? People used to go like, okay, you don't need a lot of stuff to start working on Python. It's you have a REPL, right? Now we have a REPL in Java today, and the main reason why it was introduced was because all these languages were way ahead of the curve, right? JavaScript had a REPL, Python had a REPL. I should stop looking at the comments. I get distracted. So because of all those REPLs, people went like, okay, those languages are super easy to learn and Java is hard. So Java introduced a REPL. So now we have that. We have JShell. Okay, so you start the REPL by typing Python 3.11. Do I really need the version? Can I not just do Python? Let me increase the size. Somebody is asking for a white theme. Oh man, I'm gonna get butchered if I do white theme. We'll stick to dark, and we will increase the font size. Why can't I rewind the stream? You should be able to rewind the stream. I thought I had enabled DVR. Hang on a second. YouTube Studio is saying now would be a good time to insert ads. Thank you, YouTube Studio. Do you folks mind if I insert an ad? Let me actually do that while I figure out the DVR thing. Give me just a second. Customization. Okay, I thought I had DVR. Yeah, I don't know why it's not letting you. It's not letting you rewind. But don't worry, I'm going to leave this whole stream up so that you can watch it again later, again and again and again, in all its glory. Okay? Okay, so see, that's how you know I'm a Python noob, right? I put the semicolon in there. It's years, like I have 20 years of practice putting a semicolon at the end of statements, right? So yeah, you got to cut me some slack. All right, so let's do the REPL. Okay, so I just do Python, and I get the REPL. There you go. Okay, so what does Python think 1 + 1 is? It thinks it's 2. So maybe this is a legit language that we should consider, folks. What do you think? It has strings, I hope. what happens if you do a number plus a string? You get an error. Okay, thank goodness it's not like JavaScript in that sense. All right, it's not that bad. It's bad, but not that bad. Okay, where did my page go? Okay, all right. Let's see. Continuation statements. Continuation lines are needed when entering a multi-line construct. For example, take a look at this. So they have a Boolean equals true, and then if this, then do this. All right, let's try that out. Okay, so Boolean, is this stream awesome? No, not capital I. Okay, equals true. Okay, and now I have an if condition and I put that flag. This is apparently a thing in Python. You have variable names with separated with underscores, not camel case for whatever reason. So we do if is, okay, tab completion in the shell. That's awesome. If this stream is awesome, colon, enter. And now you need spaces. This is another thing that Python does. 1, 2, 3 spaces. Is that what you need? 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. Print change channel name to Python brains. I don't know. What do you think? No semicolon. I'm literally stopping myself from hitting that semicolon. Okay. Yeah, I guess that is it. Now I'm going to hit enter. Enter. Okay. It did what I wanted it to do. So it's an if condition. Does it work with parentheses? Let's see. Does it need parentheses? I'm gonna put the parentheses here and then print blah. Okay, parentheses works, but it's doesn't seem to be required for yeah. Why do you write in the terminal instead of VS Code or PyCharm? I'm just following this tutorial, man. I think you're right. I'm not comfortable with this shell myself. I need to use this one. So I'm just gonna do this. You're right. This is much easier, much better. Okay, so I'm going to do basically copy this thing. And then if colon, look at that. This is the benefit of using the IDE. You get this, the spaces. Okay, indenting should be consistent for every block. It can vary from one block to another, but recommended indentation is 4 spaces. That makes sense, because guess what the Docker container that I got from this thing did? 4 spaces. It's provided exactly that. So that's great. So I'm going to say print Python is possibly fun. Very non-committal. Okay, not there yet. It's got to prove itself. I'm going to save. And why is this highlighting? Missing module docstring. I have no idea what that is. Constant does not conform to uppercase naming style. Why does it need uppercase naming style? Oh, because it's a constant. Okay. I might change this to let's see if I change this to false. Then it doesn't complain about it being a constant. Oh, it still thinks it's a constant. Why is that? Odd. Okay, I don't want it to be a constant, but it just assumes it is. All right, I'm going to save this and let's get through the process of just running this thing. I'm going to quit. How do I quit? Keyboard interrupt. exit, exit. Yeah, okay. Now the way to run this thing is to go Python and then hello.py, and there you go. We've got our complicated Python code. Ask ChatGPT what Python will do. Yeah. I'm gonna start making ChatGPT tutorials now because nobody wants to learn coding. Why learn coding when you got ChatGPT, right? Why go to Java Brains when you can have ChatGPT build a Spring Boot application for you? Can ChatGPT build a Spring Boot application? I don't know. It'd be interesting to check it out. All right, so we've got the interpreter working, and we've completed step 2. We're going to move on to step 3. Okay, comment is using hash. Okay, hash. My first Python program. Okay. I'm going to put a semicolon here. What are you going to do, Python? Huh? Just feels so relieving to put a semicolon at the end of the statement. I had to put it somewhere. All right, I'm just going to add a comment and put a semicolon there just so that, it's like I end up having OCD otherwise. Like, how can I not have a semicolon in there? Okay, so you can add a comment on the side as well, which is awesome. You can have a string variable. Okay, I'm going to put a string variable here. Name equals Kaushik. Is it single quotes or double quotes? Can you do both? I think you can do both. Let's see. I'm going to print name. Okay. And I think you can, yeah, we already did single quotes. So it can do single and double, kind of like JavaScript in that sense. Okay, using Python as a calculator. 2 plus, well, we already did this. We don't need to do all this stuff. We believe you know math, Python. Trying to access an undefined variable. Okay, so you don't have to declare it, but you have to define it. Okay, so here is a declaration, and here is a definition, right? You have assigned it and you're using it. If you don't assign a variable name, if it's the first time it's seeing it, then it's going to give you an error. Undefined name. Well, there you go. Okay, so you need to have it assigned somewhere. It has to be initialized. Can I just put a name there, like a declaration? Does it work? No, it doesn't work. It assumes it's a usage. Okay, that makes sense. All right. What else? Full support for floating point operations. Okay, let's see if it does a JavaScript when it comes to floating point operations. So with JavaScript, it does these weird roundings. So I don't know. Okay, let's see. You can use semicolon, but they're redundant. Really? Can I use semicolon? Doesn't Python scold me for that? No, seems to work fine. Okay. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't use semicolons. You're not supposed to. I've been told that there is a very specific way in which you have to write Python, right? There is a Python way, a very sacred way. You have to use that. So that means no semicolon. Awesome. Let's move on. Strings, we looked at this. Or it uses the same backslash for the tick. Okay, when we want to use the same string inside and the same quote inside another quote. Okay, print to print. We've seen that. Print of a string. Okay. If you don't want characters prefaced by slash to be interpreted as special characters, you can use raw strings by adding an R before the first quote. Ah, look at that. Okay, so in Java, you have to use doubles. Here, you're just going to use R to indicate that the slash is not an escape, which is interesting. So it's a raw string. I can make this a raw string, perhaps. Let's see. Does it still work? Yeah, it still works. And now if I have a slash here, it is going to interpret that as a literal slash and not escape it. If I remove this, it is going to think this is basically weird. is what it's going to think. With the /n, it is going to think it's a new line, but with an R, treating it as a raw string, it looks at it literally. Okay, let's move on. String literals can span multiple lines. One way is to use triple quotes. End of the lines can automatically be into, okay, triple quotes. We're getting this in Java now. You folks know this? We are getting multi-line strings in Java, which is also awesome, but we're not going to talk about Java, right? We're flirting with Python. There you go. And now, cool. So this was a new line for this. This another new line for the /n, and then another new line at the end because of this /n at the end. Okay. Right, I'm going to fix my name here and move on. Strings can be concatenated together with the plus operator and repeated with star. Ooh, look at that. This is interesting. We don't have this in Java. 3 times UN. Okay. So I'm going to be a narcissist and I'm going to multiply my name times 10 now. Okay. So it's basically going to be my name times 10. And it has to print it. So this is going to multiply this by 10. So it's going to be 10 occurrences of the string. And it is going to assign it to the name variable. And it should print this here. So there you go. Awesome. Plus, I trust that it knows what to do. This feature is particularly useful if you want to break long strings. Text. You have to go now, bye? No, you're not allowed to go. You can't leave them in the middle of the class, man. I hope you have a good day or night, whatever. Python drains. I hope you meant brains and that was a typo. So that would be an interesting that would be an interesting name. Java brains, Python drains. All right. The feature is particularly useful when you want to break long strings. I'm going to break long strings. Why not use the triple quotes? Oh, because that would add a new line. Okay. So here it is. I'm guessing this is what they're talking about. So let's say Kaushik is a Python noob. Okay. So let's say I have this and I have triple quotes here. Now it is going to add the new line, but if I put this like this with the parentheses, okay, and I make these individual strings, then I'm guessing it is going to be just 1 like this. Look at that. Okay, this makes sense. So the triple quotes is when you want new lines in your string. The parentheses is when you don't want new lines in the final string, but you want new lines in your code. Gotcha. Okay, this only works with 2 literals though, not with variables or expressions. Cannot concatenate a variable and a string literal. What? Prefix equals pi, prefix thon. So it cannot concatenate a string variable with a string literal. But yeah, you got to use plus for that, right? Yeah, that's what it just told me. So I'm going to say name plus noob. Yeah. Why would somebody think that this works? That's odd. Okay. Let's see. This is the string. You can't put something outside and have it be a string. Okay. If you want to concatenate variables or a variable, use the plus. Yeah, we got it. Strings can be index subscripted with the first character having index 0. Okay. So if I were to say print name of 0, I'm going to get K. Okay. Name of 1 is going to be, oh, I know it has ranges as well. This is something that I really like. It has negative indexes. So I can do -2 and I'm going to get I. Oh, it's Python. Okay, over here. I'm going to put no here. So -2 should give me O. Yeah, and it does. Okay. I'm really interested in the range. Yeah, this one. 0 to 2. Characters from position 2 to excluded. Okay, so I'm going to do 0:2. And it's going to give me those two. I also wanted to check, like, what happens if I do, like, it's going to get index out of bounds for maybe 200, right? Doesn't it give me index out of bounds? Yeah, it does. So what if I do -200? Does it wrap back? No, it does this too. So it's basically, it still has to be within bounds, but you can do positive or negative. Okay. All right, range we've seen. Slice indices have useful defaults. An omitted first index defaults to 0. An omitted second index defaults to the size of the string being sliced. Okay, so if you omit an index, it's going to go to the boundary, whatever other boundary there is. Okay, so if I were to do :5, so it's going to be starting to the fourth. Well, 0, 1, 2, 3. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5 is non-inclusive. Okay, so it's going to go up till there. Okay, that's cool. What if I just do colon? I omit both. Is it going to get me the whole string? Yeah, okay. All right. Note how start is always included, end is always excluded. Okay, this makes sure that :I and I:, S of :I and S of I:, always equals to S if you concatenate those two. All right, neat. One way to remember how slices work is to think of the indices as pointing between characters, with the left edge, the first character numbered 0, right edge of the last character numbered this string of n characters as index n. Then the right edge of the last character of a string of n characters has index n, for example. Okay, so this is 0 to 6. This is -6. Okay. The first row of numbers gives the position indices 0 to 6 in the string. Second row gives the corresponding negative indices. Okay. We got it. Are you folks following me? Are you good? Is anybody following me? Anybody trying these things out? You can just relax and watch. You don't have to follow. But if you are a fellow Python noob and you've been following, let me know. Let me know if this is making sense to you. It seems to be making sense to me. Yeah, folks, feel free to drop off. I'm going to be publishing a replay of this thing on the channel, so you can check it out at any time. You're gonna miss all the interactive nature of it. You won't be able to send me a comment and have me read it, perhaps, but the video will be there. All right, Python strings cannot be changed. They're immutable. Okay. Therefore, assigning it to an index position in the string results in an error. I wonder why. I wonder if they're using it for, they're doing it because it's for security reasons. If they're doing it because it's in the heap. There have been a lot of debate about why Java strings are immutable. Okay, so the most popular reason is that they used strings for connecting to databases in the beginning. Okay, JDBC used string objects as connection strings. So if you were to mutate a string, you'd basically be able to change the database that an application connects to. So it was purely for security reasons. At least that's what they say. Because anything else, like you can give a lot of other justification. Okay, here's how Java works, and that's the reasons why strings are immutable. But they could very easily have changed and made strings immutable. But I don't know why Python makes strings immutable. Perhaps the same reason. So yeah, you cannot change one letter of a Python string. You're going to have to create a new one, which is fine. I get it. We don't have to look at it. The built-in len function returns a length of a string. So you don't have a dot length here. You got to do a len of a string. Interesting. Okay, so I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to do len of name, and it should give me, okay, it gives me the length. All right. Okay. Now this assumes that here's the thing that's in my mind right now. I want to get this clarified because when you have you got to import things in Java to make it available in the namespace, right? Or you have to basically, you have a default namespace, like a default set of imports where things are always going to be available, and then you have these customized namespaces that you get by importing packages. I'm guessing this is an equivalent of a default namespace. You have print and len that we're using, two functions that we haven't imported, right? So I'm guessing it's a part of that default namespace. All right. Lists. Python knows a large number of compound data types used to group together other values. The most versatile is the list, which can be written as a list of comma-separated values, items between square brackets. Okay. My favorite numbers equals 0, 1, 2, 3, 10, because why not? And let me print my favorite numbers. How is it going to print it? Okay, it has this square bracket notation that's using for printing. So in Java, we have a toString method. What's happening here? Is print taking care of that job? I don't know. Is print calling toString of this thing? Is that a toString? I don't know. That would be interesting to figure out how it works in Python. But yeah, lists seem to work fine. The same indexing as we saw for strings. I'm not going to belabor this. We're going to trust that it works. Colon, if you omit both the left and the right boundaries, you're basically going to get a slice. All slice operations return a new list containing the requested elements. This means that the following slice returns a shallow copy of the list. This is interesting. You want to make a copy of a list. You want to have immutable lists. Then you can just use colon. Okay, so if I were to do name of colon, what I'm doing here is printing length of a copy of the, or let me actually, I would do this over here. We were looking at lists. Okay, I'm printing out a copy of this array, right? It's making a copy because it's basically sliced from both limits, and it's making that copy right there, which is cool. Now what happens if I do length here? Length should work for lists too, right? I'm probably jumping ahead. They might have that information here. Okay, list also supports operations like concatenation. Okay, interesting. So how about this plus my favorite numbers? Okay, I'm not going to do length. I want to see this. Okay, you have this. All right. What if I add name? Does that work? No, I cannot. Only concatenate list, not a string. Okay. Can I concatenate an individual element though? Like, doesn't seem to work because name failed, but let me try this. What if I want to add a number 10 to this thing? No, it cannot. You can only add two lists. You cannot add individual item. So let's say I add this. Okay, that's how you add a new item to a list. Okay. All right. Python has repr and stir functions. I think print calls stir if you just input an object to the REPL. Python calls repr. Ah, okay. So it's automatically calling stir, huh? Let's see. Let's say I'm going to move this up and I'm going to say my numbers stir equals stir of my favorite numbers. So it's going to convert it into a string is what you're saying. And now since it's a string, I can add it to another string. So I can add it to over here. I'm going to print my number string plus name. This should work, right? I'm going to get rid of all this other stuff so that it makes sense. So what I have here is a list, and I'm converting that list into a string, and I'm adding another string to that string. So it should be the list in square brackets and then hello at the end. Ah, there you go. There you go. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Can we move VS Code a bit to the right to see the console results? Oh, you're not able to see the console results. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. I'm going to move this over here. Thank you for letting me know. So you folks haven't been able to see the results for so long. Sorry about that. But hopefully this should fix it. All right. So we have the array and the string, which is cool. Let's move on. Like strings which are immutable, lists are immutable type. Okay. You can also add new items at the end by using the append method. Ah, you have a dot append method, which is what I think I did when I did this. Okay, so you can either do this, right? Or you can do append. All right, let's try an append. I want to try a couple of things here. I'm gonna do a my favorite numbers dot append of 20. I'm guessing it updates this thing itself and it is not just returning something else. The list is mutable, so it should return just that. I'm going to get rid of this and I'm just going to print my favorite numbers. So it should print 0, 1, 2, 3 and 10 and 20. Okay, so it is changing it in place. It's not returning a new one. What does it return though? Let's see. Does it return foo equals print of foo? It returns none. Okay, so this is probably null, an equivalent of null. Okay. Assignment to slices is also possible. I'll change the size of a list or clear it entirely. Assignment to slices. Ooh, this is pretty powerful. You have a list here, and now I can replace some of those values, right? 2 to 5, I want it to be this. That's pretty neat. It's really neat. And I want 2 to 5 to be an empty array, then it just removes it. Clears a list by replacing all elements with an empty list. Basically clears the whole thing. Wow, this is awesome. This is awesome. We don't have this in Java. This is awesome. All right. Len is. Oh, Len is. Oh, hang on. This is the equivalent of Javadoc, I guess. This is PyDoc. Is it PyDoc? Yeah, whatever that is. See, there's the API documentation. You're probably going to be using that a lot if you're working on Python full time. Is it possible to nest lists? It is possible to nest lists, create lists containing other lists, for example. Okay, two-dimensional lists. Okay. We don't need to declare it though, so you can basically just create a new one. So what if I append this as a list here? Then it is going to be a two-dimensional list, with the last element being a list in itself. Okay, that makes sense. All right, and then you can use the two indices to get to the right one. Okay, nothing different from Java there, so we're going to move on. First step towards programming. Of course, we can use Python for more complicated tasks than adding 2 and 2 together. Oh, that's good to know. Oh man, you can do more than addition. Awesome. For instance, you can write an initial subsequence for the Fibonacci series as follows. Okay, so you can do a comma b is 0 comma 1. Okay, this is interesting. You're initializing two variables with the two values. This is kind of like destructuring. Kind of like that. Okay, so let's say name and age equals Kaushik, and age, what's my age? 25. My age has been 25 for a long time now. Okay, and now I'm going to say print name and print age. So it is going to assign this to this and this to this. I can initialize multiple variables at the same time. This is kind of like we do this using destructuring in JavaScript. So right, so in JavaScript, the way it works is you do const something like this, right? A comma b equals 1 comma 2, right? This is called destructuring. This is the way it works in JavaScript. So we don't need the. So I've always felt that the square brackets were an unnecessary addition. So yeah, we don't need that in Python, which is good. Okay. First step towards program. Okay, we're gonna print the Fibonacci series, guys. Right? This is where the fun lies. So you started coding at you got me. Yeah. Yeah, I started coding at 5 actually. Yes, that's true. I worked on COBOL when I was 5 years old because all the 5-year-old kids love COBOL. Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to do. Let's look at this program. A comma b equals 0 comma 1. So a is 0, b is 1. While a is less than 10, print a, and then a comma b is b comma a plus b. Well, this is what I have. I have a very annoying Python developer friend who goes, well, can you swap two variables with just one line in Java? This is what he's talking about. You can do that in Python, right? It's basically doing A is getting assigned to what was in B, and B is getting assigned to what was in A plus B. So that's what's happening here. So if you were to do this in a traditional way, I'm going to create a new file called fibo.py or Fibonacci, because life's too short. I'm going to say A comma B equals 0 comma 1. Okay, and then while a is less than, let's call it 20, colon, and then it has indented here. What am I going to do? I'm going to have this. First, of course, first I'm going to print a, and then I'm not doing the traditional way. What I'm going to do is use this thing. Okay, I'm going to have what needs to go over here. I'm going to put two assignments into one. Okay, I'm going to say a comma b equals what should go into a, what is in b now should go to a. So I'm going to put b here, and what should go to b, what was the sum of a and b should go there. So it's going to be a plus b. I would have had two statements there, but We don't need that. Okay, so I guess this is this it? Oh, no, not what I wanted. Terminal. Funny, this reads Python hell. All right, Python Fibo.py. Right, there you go. We've got the Fibonacci series. Awesome. All right, this example introduces several new features. Multiple assignment, okay, we figured that out. While loop, we figured that out. Zero is false, okay? Okay, body is indented, we figured that out. Print, okay, we know how to print. And then the keyword argument end can be used to avoid the new line after the output, or end the output with a different string. Huh? The keyword, oh, this is for the print. Okay, the keyword argument end can be used. So you can have arguments that are, oh, okay, interesting. Can I just use an argument like this? That's what they're doing, right? They're passing a string. Can we do this? Okay, so that seems to work too. No, that doesn't seem to work. So there is a keyword argument. So you give it an argument, but then you assign it a value to it. Okay, so you're like, you give it a name and then you assign a value to it. So you're basically saying this argument goes to that thing. Okay, because that's why you see here, I think it's actually printing both. So I want to say this has to be the end. I'm going to say end equals. Interesting. We don't have this in Java. We don't have this in JavaScript. So I'm basically saying there is a certain thing that it needs to go to, right? Java and JavaScript have positional arguments, right? You have to put it at that specific position for it to do its thing. So here I can say, I don't care about the position. I'm going to put this at this going to be the end argument. What if I flip this then? Does this work? Let's try this out. I'm going to say end equals comma, and then I want to print the value of a. No, it doesn't seem to work. Positional argument cannot appear after keyword arguments. Okay, so Python seems to have both. It has positional arguments at the beginning, and it has keyword arguments at the end. Okay, got it. All right. Okay, we have completed that as well. Using Python as a calculator, we did all this stuff. More control flows. Okay, before we tackle this, let's take a little bit of a break. You have key named parameters in Kotlin too. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I don't know how popular it is though. I haven't done Kotlin. Maybe that's the next live stream, learning Kotlin. But yeah, what we're gonna do is take a 5-minute break. Okay, I'm going to refill my coffee and I'll be back. Let's do a 5-minute break, and I'm gonna put a counter in Python. Let's see, right? So how many minutes, how many seconds are there in 5 minutes, right? We'll have Python figure that out, okay? So I'm gonna have break time minutes equals 5, okay? And then seconds per minute equals 60. Break seconds equals break time minutes times second per minute. Okay, now we have the number of break seconds. Now, while break seconds is greater than 0, I want to have break seconds. Can it do minus minus? Doesn't seem like it. Yeah, it doesn't do that. Boo! Equals break seconds minus 1. Okay, and I'm gonna print stream starting in, I think there is a format option as well, but we're gonna get to that in a bit. All right, so break seconds plus seconds. Okay, I'm gonna say resuming. So if somebody is dialing in now, they will know. And now I have to wait for a second. How do I do that? We Google it, of course. Python wait 1 second. Python sleep. Okay. Time import time dot sleep. Import time. We're gonna look at what import is. I don't know how imports work. Like, makes sense that this is how it would work, but I don't know. Time dot sleep. Time dot sleep. Hang on, this one says seconds here. It's 3 seconds. You folks are saying milliseconds. Which one is it? Is it seconds or milliseconds? We'll find out. Of 1. All right. Okay. I'm going to say this is not Fibonacci, but you get the idea. Python fibo.py. Can only concatenate string. Ah, okay, okay. So you're going to have to do stir of this thing. Seems like it's 1 second. Yeah, yeah. So this is good. All right. So we're going to take a break and we will resume in this very helpful counter of seconds, not minutes. But oh well. This is all the Python we know, right? I don't want to mess with times and all that stuff. So I'll see you folks in a bit. So the program worked fine. At least that we know. It was good. Our first useful Python program, I guess. We did a counter stream timer. So this is gonna be our new app that we're gonna build in Python for live streamers to have countdowns. Isn't that awesome? All right, how are you folks doing? I'm glad you're finding it valuable. Yeah. See, listen, there is some value in, you see all these people who teach you courses, myself included, who have worked on the technology for a while, right? We're kind of familiar with that a little bit, right? I wouldn't call myself an expert. There are a lot of other experts who teach stuff that they work on day in and day out, and they've mastered it. When they teach a beginner, and when I'm attending their courses, right? When I'm attending an expert talk about something that they're expert in, there's a bit of a disconnect, right? So they are at a much higher level that it's hard for them to get down to the level in which a learner needs. So here, in one sense, I was joking earlier, in one sense it is the blind leading the blind, but in the other sense, we are kind of discovering it together. We're not really leading, we're kind of navigating this together. So yeah, maybe there's some value in that. All right, let's move on. Any questions, comments, suggestions, things to make this more valuable for you? Please let me know. And again, I'm going to highlight that this is going to be available on the channel for you to watch later. You can rewind and watch and maybe try out these same things with me as you learn Python with me. All right. Besides the while statements we just introduced, Python uses the usual flow control statements known from other languages with some twists. All right, interesting, some twists. Perhaps the most well-known statement type is the if statement. So for example, if, x equals int of input of please enter an integer. Input of please enter an integer. I think input is the system in, and int is converting it into an integer, I'm guessing. Let's find out. It's interesting that they just dropped this thing right there without any explanation. That's not a good way to teach. You gotta tell people what input is, tell that int is converting it, and then have them use it. That's my style of teaching. I kind of go bottom up, but yeah, I get it. All right, so let's do if statements. I'm gonna create a new one. Well, actually, let me call this. We're tired of Fibonacci. We don't want to do Fibonacci. I'm gonna call this. I'm gonna call this break message. I wonder what the convention is for file names. Do they use underscore for that too? I wonder. Okay. Why is this getting messed up? Hang on a second. Give me a second. The display seems to be a bit off. Let me see if I can fix that. No, still seems to be a bit off. Well, we'll find out what's going on as we do this. Is this visible for you folks? Can you see my screen? It feels like a portion of the display is a little off, right? So you see this? The string doesn't seem to be showing correctly. Yeah, I wonder why. Reload the window. looks like my roommate. I'm your roommate, buddy. What are you doing online at this time? All right. Let me try changing the theme and see if that helps. I cannot even change the color theme, which is super weird. What's going on? All right, color theme. No, that seems to be applicable to everyone. I'm going to use the default one. You see this? This is a standard VS Code default. And okay, now something else has got changed, which is super weird. I'm going to try one more thing and then I will give up. Okay, now it's much better. Yeah, now this is good. This is good. I'm going to put it back to the theme. No! Now this is an interesting live stream, isn't it? A programmer messing with IDE themes. You'd want to watch that, yeah? Font is not visible properly. I don't know. It's is it visible now? Is it good now? Let me know if you're still having trouble. What was the problem? I don't know. I reset. So I'm streaming using OBS. I just reset the screen recording source and it worked fine after. All right. Cool. Let's move on. All right, we're gonna do if, right? If statement dot py. We're gonna mess with if statement a bit. All right, so first we're gonna do input. Say input, enter your name. I feel like I'm in college again doing these kind of programs. We used to do that for C, C++, and all that stuff. And I guess it is going to return what the user has input, right? Yeah, it's going to return what the user input. So I'm going to say name equals input of enter your name. And then I'm going to do print of hello, and then name. And I'm going to say Python if statement.py, enter your name. All right. Cool. Interactive Python applications. It's awesome. All right. Next, I'm going to do age equals enter your age. Okay. Being a Java developer for 6 years, I just gave up on Python despite trying multiple times to like the language. I just can't work without brackets. What do you mean can't work without brackets? You do have brackets. You have arrays. This is an array. You gotta use brackets for that. Do you mean parentheses? You'd have parentheses as well. I'm not sure. I'm confused by your comment. All right, so age is a number. So I'm going to cast it to an integer by using int. I'm going to say int of this. Okay. And I'm going to have an if statement. If age is less than 20, colon. I'm going to say print of, all right, let's say age is greater than 20. I'm going to have a couple of messages to show one versus another. Curly braces. Oh, yeah, I got it. Curly braces. Okay. Okay, so if the age is greater than 20, I'm going to say, hello, good sir, and then I'm going to say, greetings, and then quote, and then plus name, and then plus. I'm going to have to look up how you can do those formatted strings. Those would be useful. Good sir slash madam. Okay, I'm just going to cover those two for now. I think there should be an else. Let's see the else. Elif. Else. Okay. Else. So this is age less than or equal to 20. I'm going to use the millennial lingo. What's good, bro? Python is cool. No cap. All right. This is how the kids speak these days. That's what I've been told. Well, I said I'm 20 years old, so 25 years old, so I'm kind of like that too. All right. So I have an if and I have an else, and I'm using a variable that I picked using input. And since I'm using a comparison, I have to convert it into an int, right? Seems like a simple. Enter your name, Kaushik. My age is 20. Okay, so this is working fine. Elif is similar to else if, right? Else if is elif. Okay. All right. There can be 0 or more elif parts, and the else part is optional. The keyword elif is short for else if, duh, and is useful to avoid excessive indentation. And if elif sequence is a substitute for the switch or case statement found in other languages. Oh, there's no switch or case statement here? Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I guess you don't need a switch because this is kind of like acting like that. When you have elif is okay. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. All right. If you're comparing the same value to several constants, if you're checking for specific types attributes, you may also find the match statement useful. I think match is closer to the case. Look at that, right? When you're comparing the same thing to multiple values, you have match status, and then you give individual case. Okay. All right. For statements. For key in an array, I'm going to print that thing. Okay, this is easy. Easy. All right, I'm going to put a for here. Yeah. For statement dot py. Okay, I'm going to say names equals A, B, C, and then for name. Wait, how do you do this? For name in names. I don't think you need the parentheses, so I'm going to skip this. Names, and then a colon. No, it has to be in. I'm doing the Python loop. There's no in there. It's got to be in names colon, and then I'm going to print of name, right? And I'm going to have an end equals. Just going to use the things you already learned. Why not, right? Put this here. So it's going to be Python for statement.py. Okay, so it's got A, comma, B, comma, C. Okay. I'll put the comma here. That's what I meant to do. Okay. word and then length of the word. All right. Does it take for in because each letter in a word is indexable, or each letter in a string is indexable, right? So I wonder if okay. Thank you for this. My first ever comment in your channel. Thank you for making a comment on my channel. Started my career from you. You're one of the best teachers. Love the way you explain. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much for taking the time to write that comment. You've made my day. Thank you so much, Balamurgan. Don't hesitate to write more comments. I do read all of them. So please feel free to write to me. I'm wondering if I can for letters in a string. So let's try that out. Name equals foobar, right? I'm tired of my own name now. Can I do for I in name? Does this work? Print of I. The same shortcut works. That's cool. So I select this and then use the comment shortcut. VS Code knows that this is Python and it's commenting it appropriately. Okay, so even letters work fine. So that's a good thing. I can index by letters. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I already have a full course on Docker available for members. So if you're interested in Docker, check it out. I don't have one for Kubernetes yet. I'll hopefully make it soon. Or I'm gonna switch and become a Python developer. No, that's not likely, but well, we'll see. All right, so you can index by letters. You can index by items in a list. So that's cool. That's good to know. Okay. Code that modifies a collection while iterating over the same collection can be tricky to get right. Instead, it's usually more straightforward to loop over a copy of the collection or to create a new collection. So they've introduced an object literal out of nowhere. See, you gotta be careful when you're writing tutorials like this. A newbie is gonna look at this and go, I don't know what this is, right? I'm of course a Python expert. I've been playing with it for an hour, so I get it. But somebody who's new, they're gonna get confused, right? Yeah. My feedback. If anybody authoring the Python docs, official Python docs, has enough free time to watch the stream and me messing around with Python, well, this is a message that I'd like to convey to you. Please make sure you layer these things one after another. Don't introduce things that you haven't talked about. All right, so what do we have here? We have an object literal, which is what I'm guessing this is. Like it's a key value pair. You have a key as a string and then a value as another string. Both of them have quotes, which is interesting. What they're doing here is iterating over a copy of those items. They're doing a dot copy on the object to get a copy of that object. And they're using a dot items to iterate over those items. Oh man, they've introduced too many things here. Whatever this thing is. Let's try this out. I'm gonna give it a new file. I'm gonna call this map.py because I don't know what this is. This looks similar to a kind of like an object literal, a dictionary in JavaScript, a map in JavaScript. So not object literal from JavaScript, but it's a dictionary from yep. Whatever this is, it's kind of like a map. So that's why I called it map. They should introduce this before they bring this up. But let's play with this. Now that we have this guy here, I'm going to copy this stuff. Okay, so I have users as key value pairs. Okay, now I can do users dot copy to get a copy of it. And let's see what else you have. You have keys and you have values, which is neat, which is what we want, right? So let's say I do keys. I'm going to print keys. Okay, dict keys off. Okay, keys did not return a list. It returned something called dict keys, which has a list in the argument. Okay. How about values? Oh, no, it's all good, my friend. Let me know. Like I have no idea. So if you can tell me, I will learn. Okay, so dict values and dict keys. They seem to be two separate structures which contain a list. What you get is not a list in itself. I wonder if it's iterable though. You know that a for loop can iterate over these things. So if I were to do for key in the keys, right? So I'm going to do user dot keys. I'm going to reduce the font a little bit, all right? Hopefully this is still visible. That was a bit too big. I'm going to print key. Yeah? Will this work? Users. Oh, did you mean users? That's pretty neat. Nice error messages. I like that. Okay, so it is iterating over it. So it is iterable, but what it gets back is not just a list. It gets dict keys and dict values. Okay, very well. Now let's see what else we can do here. You can do a dot copy to copy over it. Hang on, we're doing something here. This is an object, right? I'm using a dot operator and I'm calling a method on it. So users is actually an object. Is it an object? It's a dict of stir and stir. So in that sense, it is kind of an object, maybe. We'll find out. Key and values produce list-like structures. What does it mean? What does list-like mean? Are they lists or not? Do they extend lists? In which case, are lists classes? Tuples are immutable and lists are immutable. Oh, so these are tuples, huh? Okay, items returns tuples. Key value. Okay, but what about keys and values individually? What do they return? That would be interesting to find out. All right, we're going to move on. So what they've done here is they've iterated over a copy of the object. So, okay, here's what they're trying to do. They're trying to remove the inactive members of this dictionary, of this map, right? So this person is inactive, so they want to remove it. So rather than mess with that object itself, what they're doing is they're making a copy of it, because you don't want to mess with the object while you're looping over them. They're making a copy dot items. Now you're going to get that tuple, and we are going to delete that thing from users, which is the original, right? So they're iterating over a copy and modifying the original. Okay, creating a new collection. Active users is an empty dictionary. I'm going to use the right term, dictionary, for user and status in user.items, which is going to give a tuple. If status is active users of user is status. Okay, so basically they've done this destructuring kind of a thing over here. So since this returns a tuple, they've caught it into these two, which is again interesting. All right, so let's try that out. I'm going to remove this part. I'm going to do for key comma value in users.items. So users.items is going to give one tuple for each item in this dict. So it is going to return first this one. It is going to return Hans and active. right? This is going to be the first one. Next, it's going to return this, and then it's going to return this. So since I've done key value in, it's basically equivalent to the assignment. So key is going to go to this. The first element of that dict is going to go here, of that tuple is going to go here. The second element of that tuple is going to go here. And I'm going to be able to access them individually. I'm going to say key and print of value, right? So I'm basically, yeah. So I'm looping through the keys and I'm basically getting the key and the value, and for each iteration I can do this. Interesting. And now this becomes simple, right? Now I have if status is active, I'm doing something with that status. So let's say I want to print only the inactive ones, okay? So I'm going to say if value equals, wait, is it double equals or single equals? Yeah, it's double equals. Equals inactive. It has to be double equals, right? Kaushik, what are you thinking? Single equals is assignment. All right, so if value is inactive, I'm going to do print of the key. So it should print Eleanor. I'm getting the pronunciation wrong for sure. Okay, this is cool. This is cool. I learned something here. And now I can assign it to an object and I can use the same thing. This is again very similar to JavaScript. I can create an empty, wait, not an object. This is a dict. So I'm creating an empty dictionary and I'm assigning a value, a key value to that dictionary. I'm going to say dictionary of key equals value, and it's going to give me that. All right. Hash map to dictionary. Yes, that makes sense. That makes sense. Hash map is, I wonder how it's implemented though. Is it really implemented as a hash map? Maybe the API surface is similar, but I wonder if it's actually implemented using hashing. That's going to bring about some interesting implications for what the key can be. So for example, can the key be another dictionary? All right. Let's say dict of users equals, and can I do dict of users equals, I don't know, make it true. All right, let's see if I can, if I'm breaking Python here. Unhashable type dict. Well, there's my answer. You're right. It is hash. It is a hash map, right? It is hashing, and it's saying for some reason it cannot hash this thing. Huh? Why can you not hash a dictionary? Interesting. Java can. Use streams. Yeah, I'm very tempted to. There must be some concept similar to streams over here. I know that you can do functional programming in Python, so there must be something like that where you can use streams and pass lambdas to it. All right, let's move on. Range. If you do need to iterate over a sequence of numbers, the built-in function range comes in handy. For I in range. Okay, so this is equal to the classic for loop. For I equals 0, I less than. Okay. Maybe because of the characters. I wonder. Well, those are ASCII. I don't think it's going to matter. This is all ASCII. Let's put that theory to the test. I highly doubt that it's gonna change anything. Yeah, it's all these are standard, not ASCII. I mean Unicode. Sorry, these are Unicode characters, so it shouldn't matter. You can put an emoji in there, and it should still work. All right. Let's see what else. Range. We're looking at range. I'm gonna go to the for statement, and let's do range. For I in range of what was that one? Just the number. Okay, 10. Print of I. So this should basically just print, does it print from 0? Oh, not this one, for statement. Okay, it prints from 0 onwards. That's good. 0 index. There's some programming language which is 1 index, which is totally confusing. I don't know why they do that. A given endpoint is never part of the generated sequence. Range of 10 generates 10 values. The legal indices of the items of the sequence of length 10. Yeah. If you can figure that out. So it's possible to let the range start at another step, another number, or to specify a different increment, even negative. So I can specify where it starts and the length and then the step increment. So I'm going to say start from 10, end at 55, increments of 4. So this should, yeah, this looks right. To iterate over the indices of a sequence, you can combine range and len as follows. It has a list. Why do they call it sequence? It's a list, right? Isn't that what it's called? A list. For I in range of length of a. I see. So if I have to iterate over a loop, I cannot do, like in Java, we do I equals 0, I less than list dot length or array dot length. Here, I need to do I in range of length of that thing, which is kind of the same thing, right? And I can both get I, which is the index, and then a of I, which is this thing. Okay. But in most such cases, it's usually convenient to use enumerate function. Well, I can just do an in, right? If all I need is a of I don't need to do this. I can just say for I in a, and I'm gonna get I is basically that element. Okay, enumerate. I'm gonna take a quick peek because I'm interested in how this works. List of enumerate of seasons. Oh, it's going to give me the index and the index and the value. Interesting. Okay, cool. Iterable things are called sequences. Interface provided by the __ iter function. Okay. It's interesting that even Python has that thing, that __, the one that you mentioned in your comment. This is dunder, right? That exists in JavaScript as well for prototype related stuff. It's interesting that Python is. I wonder if JavaScript copied Python and not the other way around, because Python is older than JavaScript, isn't it? This is how you know that this is a legitimate Python expert speaking. Python is older than JavaScript, isn't it? All right. A strange thing happens if you print a range. Range of 10, range of 0, 10. In many ways, the object returned by range behaves as if it is a list, but in fact it isn't. It's an object which returns the successive items of the desired sequence when you iterate over it, but it doesn't really make the list, thus saving space. That is cool. So I can say range of 0 and a billion, and it is not going to just create a list. It's basically going to just return the next item when I want it. That is cool. This is useful when you're doing lead code problems and you're asked space complexity. You can say this is space complexity of 1, because it's not taking up that space. All right. We say such an object is iterable. That is, it's suitable as a target for functions and constructs that expect something from which they can obtain successive items until the supply is exhausted. All right? Iterable pattern, the iteration pattern. We have seen that the for statement is such a construct. For example, when a function takes an iterable, for example, of a function that takes an iterable is sum of range of 4. I wonder if if the space complexity is 1, what is the time complexity of this thing? Let me show you what I mean. Okay, I'm going to comment this out as well. So we know that range of n has a space complexity of 1, right? So when I do sum of range, okay, if I were to print this, is this time complexity of n? Because is it going in a loop and counting all this stuff and printing out the sum? Anybody know the answer? I feel like it should be, because if it's not keeping track of that thing, wait, what happened? Right? If it's not keeping track of that thing, then what it means is it's basically looping through. Well, for some it has to loop through anyway. What am I saying? How about len? If I'm printing the length of this thing, does this work? Yeah. So in this case, is it O of n? Printing out the length of a range. Is it O of n? I feel like it is. Sum will obviously be O of n, but length also seems like O of n. All right. Later we'll see more functions that return iterables and take iterables as arguments in the chapter data structures. All right. When I get proficient in one language, I forget design patterns I learned using the previous one. That's why you got to code in multiple languages all the time. No, it's the thing about design patterns is they're supposed to be language agnostic. I think what you're talking about is data structures and like built-in APIs. I can easily imagine me coding in Python for 3 days and going to Java and going len off an array and going, oh shoot, no, and switching back. So that kind of a change is going to happen. So yeah. Okay, I see, Kumar, I see in your comment to say len of range of n is O of 1. Okay, so I think this means that it's basically kind of inferring it and not just using it as an iterable, right? Because for sum, it uses as an iterable, keeps calling next, using the iterator pattern and summing it up. For length, it kind of knows, okay, what's the start and the end and the range, and it kind of intelligently figures it out, I guess. Is that what you mean? Maybe. All right, break and continue statements and else clauses on loops. The break statement, like C, breaks out the innermost enclosing of for or while loops. Okay, this is similar to how we do break in Java and JavaScript, terminated by break statement. Okay, so there is an if, and inside that if, you put a break. So when that condition is met, it goes out of the loop that is immediately wrapping that break. Okay. Else. Oh, there is an else and a for. Interesting. Yes, this is correct code. Look closely. The else clause belongs to the for loop, not the if statement. Huh. For x in range, do this. Else. What? How does this work? Loop statements may have an else clause. It is executed when the loop terminates through exhaustion of the iterable with for, or when the condition becomes false with while, but not when the loop is terminated by a break. Ah. Interesting. So this else actually belongs to the if condition that the break holds, if at all the break is inside an if. If the loop executes successfully without breaking, then the else executes. But if the loop breaks, then the else doesn't execute. Why do they have this? Why would they have this? This is interesting. I call it confusing. It kind of is. Like, why? I'm trying to think of a good use case for this one, right? So the break is very likely going to be inside an if. It makes sense that it's inside an if, right? There's no reason you would just put a break inside a for. Like typically, you wouldn't put it inside a for. So technically, this else is an else for the if. The only advantage of this construct is if you have multiple breaks in multiple ifs. So this else becomes an else for all the ifs, in all the breaks that's in all the ifs, right? Yeah, it's odd. It's odd. Yeah. Let's try this out, shall we? Where do we do this? I'm gonna comment this. I'm gonna remove this stuff. Okay. Ooh, messed up the formatting. This doesn't seem to do a good job formatting, which is sad. Okay, I removed all the indents. I'm gonna have to do this, put this back. Okay, like this. For n in range of 2 to 10, okay? For x in range of 2 to n, right? Inner loop and outer loop. If n modulo x is 0, print n equals x times n divided by x. See, this is the thing, the common theme that I've noticed with the Python documentation. They try to introduce many concepts at the same time, which is not the way to do this kind of stuff. This is a tutorial after all. So you're teaching people about loops, and you're teaching them about a very confusing else. I'm going to use your term for this. You should copyright this, Kumar San Chandresh. It is a confusing else. And they're adding to the confusion by introducing concepts which haven't been covered so far. Not the way to write tutorials, my friend. Okay, so what's going to happen here is there is a break here, and this happens if this condition is met. And if it breaks through, this else isn't executed. If this for loop executes completely, then this else executes, which is a very bad name because you're telling do this for else do this, which gives me the impression that either this thing happens or this thing happens, which is like, what? This is probably like somebody else mentioned this. This is a finally, perhaps. No, finally is also not the right term for it, because a break would also expect to go through finally, because finally is like a catch-all. Yeah. Oh well. Yeah. All right. Let's do this. So I'm going to run that. I'm going to add a couple more breaks here to see what's happening. Okay, 2 is a prime number. 4 is caught here, and then what's happening? So for these things, the else block is caught, and it says there's a prime number. But when this is met, it says break, so it is not. So I can easily say if let's say I want to highlight even first. Okay, so I'm going to say if n modulo 2 equals 0, I'm going to say print n is even, and I'm going to break here, right? Let me actually put this over here. I'm going to put this inside this if. So it doesn't matter if it's inside another if, it is still going to catch this break, and this break is going to be for this one, and it is going to fall through here, right? This is one advantage of having the else. So irrespective of how deep, where the break happens, this is an else for all of them, right? Think about this. If you had to do this and you didn't have this confusing else structure, you would have had to do 2 else's, right? So this is, it helps in this case. Nah. What did I do wrong? And I got to convert it into a stir. I missed JavaScript. It should have just let me do that. Okay, there you go. See? Now I have a way to catch both those ifs and any one of those is caught, then it doesn't do this, right? That's the else. I hope this makes sense to you folks. Now I understand it, so I can explain if you're confused. So let me know. When used in a loop, the else clause has more in common with the else clause of a try statement than it does with that of if statements. A try statement is else clause runs when no exceptions occur, and the loop's else clause runs when no breaks occur. Okay. All right. For more on try statements and exceptions, see handling exceptions. Okay. The continue statement, also borrowed from C, continues with the next iteration of the loop, and I'm guessing this has nothing to do with the else. It's still going to, but it is not an else. It can be named something else. It's an else. All right. I'm still hoping for an F string Python or string interpolation C# equivalent in Java. In my opinion, desperately needs it. Java is transforming a lot lately, so I wouldn't be surprised if those things show up very soon, right? The rate of iteration, have you folks noticed it? The rate of iteration of new features coming in is crazy these days. I don't even know all the new features that are in place, right? I was thinking of making a video about this. Like, I got to learn that stuff myself. There's so much new stuff that's coming in. But yeah, I'll learn it and teach you folks. All right. See, listen, when I know something, I'm going to be very honest. I'm going to tell you I know it, right? When I'm learning and teaching, I'm going to be honest with that as well. Take it from it what you will. All right. The past statement. The past statement does nothing. Awesome. That's a useful one to have. It can be used when a statement is required syntactically, but the program requires no action. For example, while true, pass. Okay. Okay. It's a no op. Interesting. All right. Okay. I'm not gonna try this out. I'm going to pass. See what I did there? Huh? I'm so proud of my sense of humor. Match statements. A match statement takes an expression and compares its value to successive patterns given as one or more case blocks. It's superficially similar to switch statements in C. Okay, we saw this. Okay, similar to switch. All right. Okay. I can skip this. Oh, this is interesting. Using R. All right. Yeah, speaking of things in Java, the switch expression is again pretty cool in Java. That's a new thing that's been added, which is pretty neat. Patterns can look like unpacking assignments and can be used to bind variables. Point is an XY tuple, match point, case 00, case 0Y. Ooh, this is interesting. So it's using pattern matching and then catching a variable. Okay, so if it's 00, this case is going to be met. Okay, if it is 0 and something else, that something else is going to get caught over here. Man, this is interesting. It makes the code very brief and terse, but I wonder how readable this is. Maybe it's because I'm new and I'm finding it a little cryptic. It looks like a formula, but maybe somebody who's used to Python can look at this and go, okay, this is exactly what this is. I want to try this out now. All right, I'm going to do match.py. Can I create a tuple like this? 1, 2. Does this work? I think so. I didn't underline. So I guess that's how tuples work. All right, I'm going to say match tuple. Why is this highlighting this one? Okay, I gotta have a case statement. All right, got it. So what is the term? It's just case. Okay, so if the case is, let's say 0, 0, I'm going to print origin Okay. Is there a break? There is no break. Interesting. You don't need a break here. All right. If case is 1 comma x, this means that x is going to contain the value of 2. So it's not just matching the precise thing, it's matching patterns, which is super interesting. Tuples are immutables. That's how Python achieves this kind of matching. Why would it need to be immutable for it to achieve this kind of matching? All it needs is the value at a certain point, right? I should be able to change this thing. And then when this executes, it has a certain value of what the first and the second item is. That's all it needs, right? Why would it need to be immutable for this to work? I'm going to print of x. Interesting. And what's the default? Case underscore. Oh, underscore is like the fallback, right? The default. Case underscore print blah. Okay. Python match.py. Okay, so it's caught 2 and it's used that. If this changes to 0, then it's not going to meet this case. It's not going to match this case. It is not going to match this case. It's going to go over here and print blah. Right? Okay, there you go. That's pretty neat. That's pretty neat. Can I do a xy at the end instead of this? Can I do x comma y and print I don't know, x plus y, just for giggles? Okay, so that seems to work fine. So I can use like a default condition where I get the individual values and I can do something with it. Interesting. Here comes the formatted print, which you're looking for. Print f of name. Okay, that's the f string, right? It's something called f string. All right, we're gonna tackle this. We're gonna tackle this when we get there. I'm following the official tutorial. Okay, study that one carefully. Okay, the first pattern has 2 literals, thought of an extension of the literal pattern. Next 2 patterns combine a literal and a variable, and the variable binds a value to the subject point. The 4th pattern captures 2 values. Oh, they're actually doing this. I thought I'd try this out. They're actually literally doing what I just tried out. Captures 2 values, makes it conceptually similar to the unpacking assignment. So in that case, the default becomes when it's not even a tuple, right? If it's not even a tuple, then you get the default. Let's say case underscore. I'm going to print, just going to print the tuple itself, but I'm going to change the tuple to a string. Now I'm guessing the default is going to apply. Yeah, there you go. So it doesn't have to match the type. It is still going to evaluate. If it's the right type, it's going to bother. It's going to even bother matching. If it's not the right type, it's immediately going to go to the fallback. Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Immutables are used as values to create jump conditions in your code, just like strings are immutable in Java but can be used in switch statements. The question that I have, Kumar, is, does it have to be immutable? I guess it makes sense in a way. I'm just going to move on. But I see what you mean, though. I see what you mean. Like, strings are immutable in Java, and you can put it into a case. An object is mutable, and you cannot use a case statement for it. Primitives can be used because they're immutable. All right. If you're using classes to structure your data, you can use the class name followed by an argument list representing a constructor, but with the ability to capture attributes into variables. What? They've gone somewhere else. They've gone to classes now. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. They've jumped directly to classes, which is interesting. Class point, okay? So you're using a class instance to represent x and y, which are both integers. This looks very similar to TypeScript, by the way, except for this colon. If you put a curly brace here, this is pretty much, and of course number, it's pretty much TypeScript. Def, where is of point. I'm guessing this is defining a method. See, this is what I mean. I see this happening over and over again in this Python tutorial, right? They're just throwing in stuff without any introduction, which is not ideal. Where is of point, match point. Case, point of x equals 0, y equals 0. Okay, so they're basically saying I want to match a certain instance of a class, and the values of the class are going to be this. So to Kumar, to your point, this has to be primitives for this to happen, right? You can use positional parameters with some built-in classes that provide an ordering for their attributes, example data classes. You can also define a specific position for attributes and patterns by setting match args, special attribute in your classes. Right, they've gone way ahead. I'm going to skip this for now. I'm going to come back to classes a bit later. A recommended way to read patterns is to look at them as an extended form of what you would put on the left of an assignment. That's what I was thinking in my mind already. It's basically an assignment operator, and all the things that you can do with an assignment operator, including the two element thing, destructuring. I don't think it's called destructuring in Python, but you get the idea. It's kind of like it's doing pretty much the same thing that I expect for that assignment operator. Only the standalone names like var above are assigned to by a match statement. Dotted names like foo.bar attribute names the x equals and y equals above are class names recognized by the parentheses ... next to them. Like point above are never assigned to. It's called unpacking. Okay, that's good to know. Destructuring, unpacking. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what the tutorial author was on when they wrote, like they were good up to here. Okay? And then from here it looks like someone else took over, and they went, we using classes and methods and what? Okay, I'm gonna continue this. I'm gonna hold this thought. We're gonna have to get to classes first before we do this. Several key features of this day. Unpacking assignments. Yeah, this is what you were talking about, Kumar. How good is Python to build web applications like Spring Boot for Java? Yeah, Flask is a common choice, but I have been told it doesn't scale very well. So if you have like high traffic websites, Flask is not ideal. You can build REST APIs with Flask. There are a couple of other frameworks, I guess, but again, I'm telling what somebody else has told me. I'm not a Python expert. You might want to ask somebody who knows Python. They might have a more accurate answer. I'm just guessing here. All right. I'm gonna skip anything related to classes. I don't want to get to classes yet. All right. They're talking about matchers. Okay. Defining functions. Okay. Let's do functions. We can create a function that writes the Fibonacci series to an arbitrary boundary. Let's do a function and then we'll take another break. Fibonacci series up to n. Okay, you can do this and call def of this. I'm just going to do a simple hello world function for now. All right, I'm going to say functions.py and def hello world. Is that the convention as well, underscore, for function names? I'm guessing it is. They like to use underscore for everything. I'm accepting a name as an argument. And then I go, what do? Print hello plus name. and then I'm gonna call hello world of Kaushik. Okay. Okay. What if I'm just gonna mess with this now. What if I pass a number? I'm going to get an error that I cannot concatenate number to a string, right? That's what's gonna happen because this is not gonna complain. We aren't typing this. So it is going to, yeah, see? Okay, so those are functions really. Okay, I'm going to change my break message to add a function. So I love how at my job you can tell how much of the Python code was written by Java devs. Of course, imagine I'm writing a Python class going class py object factory initializer. That's a Python class written by a Java developer. There used to be this time where there were a lot of memes about class names, long class names like that, but doesn't seem to be that common these days. The class names haven't reduced in size in Java, but the memes have reduced in frequency. All right, now I want to make a function out of this, right? What do I want? I want to have a function that lets me call start break counter messages. Is that method name Java enough or is it Python? All right, I'm gonna start break messages, and I'm gonna give it the number of seconds, right? I'm gonna call this. Well, how many seconds? We're gonna minutes. Let's do 10 minutes this time. Okay, this is the function that I want to write. So I'm going to do def, and then the messages. I'm going to have time break time in minutes, right? These two can be, oh no, there's already a name there, break time in minutes. I'm going to get rid of this, seconds per minute. Now the question in my mind is, should I put this stuff in the function or should it be outside? I don't know what the convention is for these kind of constants. Should constants live outside or should I just define it within the function? I'm going to put it within the function now because it's not applicable outside. I have indented, okay, Python compiler, don't hate me. I have indented four spaces. Okay, now I have break seconds is this multiplied by that. And while break seconds is greater than, okay, seems about right. Now I cannot call before I initialize looks like. So it's not like JavaScript. I'm gonna have to define the method before I call it. Okay. Let's see if this works. Python break message. Okay, so it seems to be doing it. So, all right, folks, we're going to take a 10-minute break and we will be back with, I know I said Python compiler. I'm sorry. The Python interpreter, right? You know I'm a Java developer, right? I'm still there. The Python interpreter. You got me. You got me. I said I'm an honest man. Yes. All right. So we're going to let this run and I'll see you folks in a bit. To be honest, I'm surprised that this comment didn't show up before. This was the first thing that I thought people would say when I posted this live stream, right? It was like a Java developer learns Python. I thought the first set of comments would be Java is dead, right? A Java content creator is switching to Python. Java is over. I was told this when I made my JavaScript videos, right? And that was what, 5 years back. They said, yeah, Java is dead. Kaushik is moving to JavaScript. So just like, I'm not going to say if Java is dead or not. Hope you're reassured of the fact that an attempt to learn a new language isn't a death knell to an existing language. There can be multiple languages that exist in parallel. What I have noticed happening these days is each of these languages seem to have their own niche where they're kind of like the go-to thing to do, right? Before, there were like 2 or 3 different types of software that were written. You have web applications, desktop applications, and that was it, right? Those were really the only 2 types of major applications that you had. So you would go like, okay, I can build it in C, C++, Java, C#. You had all these options. Now you have all these different niches, right? You have web applications. You have data science and data engineering applications. You have mobile applications. So what has happened is in each of these individual areas, you have clear winners, right? For example, if you look at web applications and backends, you have to use Java, right? There are people who have tried other languages, but with varying results. Nobody has gotten fired choosing Java for building their backend, right? But people have potentially gotten fired for choosing Python. At the same time, if you're a data scientist or a data engineer, you're probably not going to use Java. You're going to use Python for that. So I think it depends on what you're doing. If you look at it that way, learning different languages allows you to mess with all those different things, right? I'm learning Python not because Java is dead in general, but because Java was never alive in the data science space, and learning Python allows me to get my foot into the data science space and kind of see what it's about. I'm not going to switch there, obviously. Been doing this for 20 years now. I don't think a complete career transition is a good option in my level of experience. If I was 1 or 2 years experience, maybe I would go like, yeah, I'm going to drop Java and switch to Python. But where I am in my career right now, these are just additions, not replacements. Learning Python is an enabler for me to delve into a technology which learning just Java is not going to allow me to do, if that makes sense. So yeah, Java is, people have been talking about Java dying for the last 20 years. It's nothing new. You're welcome to talk about it. It's good for Java that people are talking about Java. So it's like, it is what it is. What is dead may never die. yeah. Java has always been dead in some form, so it's never going to die. Yep, it's always about the problem. See, I've always been telling, we as engineers are not programmers. We are not Python developers or Java developers. We are problem solvers. Okay? You don't have a civil engineer go, I am a steel and beam platform expert. No, you think about what they do, right? Okay, I'm a bridge constructor, or I'm a building safety engineer. I'm just making things up. I'm not a civil engineer, okay? But basically, you see what that is. Like all those terminologies, all those specializations are problem plus solution focused, not technology focused. You don't care what technology they use. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. All right, moving on. It wasn't even a question, but you get what I mean. We're gonna move on to learning more Python. All right, let's take a look at this function. We can create a function that writes the Fibonacci series. What's the intersection area, if any? There are a lot of intersection areas. So I know that even in data science, right, there's a good intersection between the data processing part and the data reporting part. So data reporting can still use some of the web and UI technologies like Java and JavaScript, while the processing can happen using something like big scripts or Python or whatever else. So yeah, there's a lot of intermingling. Again, like data science alone cannot solve problems. The problem is I want to improve the shopping experience for an e-commerce site. It's going to include all of these different things with different people getting into it, right? And you have to think about the problem space, not the technology niche itself. All right. Nut and bolt, nut and bolt engineer, of course. Yeah. Nut and bolts are dying, man. This is a newfangled thing. Okay. Can you replace line 11 with F strings? Yeah. I know that F strings exist. I haven't encountered that in the tutorial, but let's try that out since you ask. I think it is just stick an F in the front to basically say you got to process this thing, and then I do curly brace, right? Just how you do F strings, curly brace, and it acts like a placeholder. Yeah, this is how it works. Right, we'll find out. That's it. So I don't have to do the stir thing, right? That's useful. Okay. The keyword def introduces a function definition. It must be followed by the function name and the parenthesized list of formal parameters. The statements that form the body of the function start at the next line and must be indented. Okay. Okay, so we got to do this to put space. All right. The first line, the function body can optionally be a string literal. This literal is the function's documentation string or doc string. This is familiar. I've heard this before. More about doc strings can be found in the section documentation strings. There are tools which use doc strings to automatically produce online or printed documentation, kind of like Java docs, right? Or let the user interactively browse through code. It's good practice to include doc strings in the code that you write, so make a habit of it. All right, let's put a doc string here. Triple quotes. All right, this prints a message every second, counting down to the input time. Can I do line breaks here? Looks like I can. Looks like I can. I can do multiple lines here. Okay. All right. Not using F strings. All right. Okay. I'm using it now. See, the tutorial is to blame. They didn't bring up F strings so far. They've mentioned freaking classes, okay, and they haven't brought up F strings. So that's got to be fixed. Okay, it's got to be fixed. Okay. It's not complicated. It's so simple. I have no idea what this is. Is it a function invocation? Is F a function to which this string is passed? I don't know, but I know the syntax. It works, so I'm going to use it. Happy? All right. The execution of a function introduces a new symbol table used for the local variables of the function. More precisely, all variable assignments in a function store the value in the local symbol table. Execution of a function introduces a new symbol table used for local variables in that function. Oh, it's for the scope, right? So this symbol table is going to be, this is the scope of all the variables inside that function, right? That's what it looks like. More precisely, all variable assignments in a function store the value in the local symbol table, whereas variable references first look in the local symbol table and then the local symbol table of the enclosing functions, and then in a global symbol table, and finally in the table of built-in names. Thus, global variables and variables of enclosing functions cannot be directly assigned a value within a function unless for global variables named in a global statement or for variables of enclosing functions named in a non-local statement, although they may be referenced. This is a very twisted statement. Let's parse this again. This part I understood. Symbol table is basically a table of local scopes for that function, right? And when you assign a value to a local variable in the function, it's going to go to that symbol table. Fine. If it doesn't find it, it's going to look one level up. So for example, seconds per minute can go up here, and I'm going to still be able to refer to it because it's going to first look for the local symbol table in this function. It's not going to find it. It's going to go here and look it up, right? This seems intuitive. This seems intuitive. This is still going to work. Okay, but they say something else. Thus, global variables and variables of enclosing functions cannot directly be assigned a value within a function. Okay, so I cannot change the value inside the scope, right? So I cannot say second per minute equals 20. This is going to break, right? Or is it going to create a new variable here? Oh yeah, what's it going to do here? Is it going to refer to this or this? This is going to be very tricky in JavaScript. Let's see what happens over here. Cannot access local variable second per minute where it is not associated with a value. Okay. So what it's done is it's created a new variable in the local symbol table here for this thing because I've assigned it a value. It's created a variable, but when line number 9 hits, it doesn't have a value. So it's complaining. It says, cannot access local variable where it is not associated with a value. So all I've done here is kind of like use it as a declaration. Okay, that makes sense. Oops. Unless, so you cannot do this unless for global variables named in a global statement or for variables of enclosing functions named in a non-local statement. Those are two things which haven't been introduced. They have given hot links, but what's a global statement? Which is a global, isn't it? This one's a global. Okay, it's further away. So we're gonna get to that when we get there. Okay, at least I know that if I declare a variable inside a function, it's gonna go into that scope, or should I say symbol table, because that's the term you're referring to. They're referring to. So you can do global myvar. So like this. Global keyword. Oh, okay, I see what you mean. So should I do global second per minute like this equals 20? Or can I not assign this? Okay, I have to use this maybe, and then say second per minute equals 20. Does this work? No semicolon, sorry. Using variable before assignment. All right, I'm gonna skip this. We're not gonna deal with that for now. It's you can assign on the same line. Okay, got it. I'm gonna skip this for now. We understood the symbol table. We're gonna move on. This is linking to a different place which we haven't gotten to yet. So we're going to move on. The actual parameters arguments to a function call are introduced in the local symbol table of the called function when it is called. Thus, arguments are passed using call by value, where the value is always an object reference. Okay, actual arguments to a function call are introduced in the local symbol table. Okay, so this is same as creating a variable inside, right? If I were to move this here, this is in the symbol table. This is in the symbol table, the local symbol table. So it is also going to be a reference, right? Sorry, call by value, not reference. Arguments are passed using call by value, where the value is always an object reference, not the value of the object. When a function calls another function or calls itself recursively, a new local symbol table is created for that call. Okay. A function definition associates the function name with the function object in the current symbol table. The interpreter recognizes the object pointed to by that name. What? A function definition associates the function name with the function object in the current symbol table. So there's a function object as well in the current symbol table. The interpreter recognizes the object pointed to by that name as a user-defined function. Other names can also point to that same function object and can be used to access that function. Okay, functions are first-class citizens, so I can assign another variable to it. Okay, that makes sense. So in this symbol table, in this overall symbol table that I have over here, start break messages is a symbol. So I can go foo equals start break messages, and I can call foo of 20, and this is going to work. Right? That's what this means. Yeah. Okay. Coming from other languages, which we are, you might object that fib is not a function but a procedure since it doesn't return a value. Yeah, who's that nitpicky, really? Come on. In fact, even functions without a return statement do return a value, albeit a rather boring one. The value is called none. We encountered this before. I think this is the equivalent of null. It's a built-in name. Writing the value none is normally suppressed by the interpreter if it would be the only value written. You can see it if you really want to using print. Print of fib of 0 is going to return none. Yes, I think we did this with append. We took a list and we did an append to it, and then he said, okay, what does it return? It returned none. All right. It's simple to write a function that returns a list of numbers in the Fibonacci series instead of printing it. So basically it is going to do the same thing. Instead of printing, you have a result. It's appending a number to the result. This was print. Now it is result.append of that number. And then it's going to continue doing this thing. And at the end, it returns result. So what it gets back is the result. Okay. This example, as usual, demonstrates some new Python features, a bunch of Python features as usual. The return statement, this one's not that bad. Return statement returns a value from a function. Return without an expression returns none. Falling off the end of the function also returns none, which is what we did here. We don't have anything at the end of the function, so it is returning none. But you can return whatever true, and then it is going to have that value when you call this. Okay. The statement result.append calls a method of list object result. See, now they're introducing this after they talked about this a while back. A method is a function that belongs to an object and is named obj.methodName. My Java friends, this is where we shine. Object-oriented programming. Yes, we are the experts. You folks know that when I say these things, I'm just kidding, right? I don't have this kind of an inflated ego when I say to actually mean what I say there. Just to clarify, with online, you never know. Where obj is some object, this may be an expression, method name is the name of the method that is defined by the object's type. Okay, different types define different methods. Methods of different types may have the same name without causing ambiguity. Methods of different types may have the same name without causing ambiguity. Yeah, of course, you can create a class. Inside a class, their method names have to be unique. The method append shown in the example is defined for list objects. It adds a new element at the end of the list. This example is equivalent to result of, yeah, we did this too, but more efficient. Why is it more efficient? Why is it more efficient? I don't know. Doesn't tell us here. All right, more on defining functions. It is also possible to define functions with the variable number of arguments. There are 3 forms which can be combined. Okay, you can have just a function parameter argument, just like that. These are positional arguments. We have seen this kind of like named arguments here, right? You have retries equals 4, reminder equals please try again. So I think these are default values. These are kind of like if you don't pass it, it takes it as a default value, right? So this is positional arguments. These are named arguments. We've already discovered this kind of. Okay, let's try this with just named arguments. Can I do this? Let's say break time minutes equals. I'm gonna have a default 10-minute break. Okay. Break time is 10 minutes. When you change the code, always make sure to keep the documentation up to date. Right? We're all good engineers. We do this. I've noticed people do this. Oh, this doesn't work? Hang on. Trailing white space. Okay. All right, I'm just gonna do this one. Okay, so I'm gonna have a default break time of 10 minutes. And then can I call just this without any break time? Statement seems to have no effect. Huh. Why? Should I specify this nevertheless? All right, I'm going to remove the return because maybe that's what's tripping this up. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Let's see. This function can be called in several ways. Giving only the mandatory argument. Okay, giving only the mandatory argument, which is what this is. Giving one of the optional arguments. Okay, or giving all the arguments. Okay, so here, what I have here is an optional argument, right? Here, this is an optional argument. Okay, creates a new list when using the plus and then assigns it to the original list. But when append, it just appends to the original list. Okay, that's fair. That could be one reason why append is more efficient. That's fair. That's fair. All right, so I need to figure out what's happening here. So we have an optional argument here, and I'm calling that function. It seems to say statement seems to have no effect. Why is that? When I assign it to something, why would that make it happy? Undefined variable foo. Why would I need to define it? What? What's going on here? Assigning a value of function. Oh, it was just the interpreter messing up. It's not doing what it's supposed to do. Okay, this seems like. Okay, this is fine now. I got it right. It was like for whatever reason it wasn't telling me the truth. So it is right. So I have an optional argument here. Break time minutes is 10. And I'm calling this function without any argument. So it's going to take that optional argument. But if I pass an argument, it's going to override it. Can I use a positional argument for this as well? So can I say Trig time minutes equals 5. Does this work? Yeah, it still works because that's the name given to this thing. Okay. Okay, cool. All right. I'm probably gonna wrap up. It's been what, 3 hours since we started the stream? Yeah, it's getting close to 3 hours. I'm probably gonna wrap up in maybe 15-20 minutes. And if you folks find this useful, I can do this again. I can maybe live stream again. I'm not sure if I can promise a certain schedule, but a live stream, and you can catch up and watch the recording at some point. Is that something you folks would be interested in? When I started this, I had no idea how it's going to be. I really thought this was going to be a complete failure and I'm going to be miserable and flailing. But seems like it's easy enough to make progress. So yeah, I'm probably going to live stream another session. We don't want to do too much in one go and just forget it. Yeah, I'm just going to maybe do a couple more and then wrap up. Okay. I'm going to make this available. Check out the replay, and I'm also going to live stream the next session whenever that is. It's mostly when my kids let me live stream. Okay, so it's the schedule is not in my control. All right. The default values are evaluated at the point of the function definition in defining scope. So okay, it's over here, which is fine. This is cool. This will print 5. Okay. So if I have a variable, when I have a default argument assigned to a variable, it is when the function definition happens. This is similar to what JavaScript does, right? It's kind of bound to that scope. So when I change that variable later, the function the symbol, I'm guessing it creates the symbol table when the interpreter parses this thing. The symbol table is already there. Arg already has the value of 5 at this point. So later, if you change this, it's not going to bother to go update the symbol table, which makes sense, right? It shouldn't do that. So when I call this like this, f is going to take the default value, which was 5 at the time the function was parsed. So it is going to print 5. Fair. Important warning. The default value is evaluated only once. This makes a difference when the default is a mutable object, such as list, dictionary, or instances of most classes. For example, the following function accumulates arguments passed to it on subsequent calls. So we have def f, which takes a, and then it has an optional parameter L, which is an empty list, L.append of a, and then return a. Okay, all that it does, takes an element, takes a list, and then appends the element to that list and returns the list. F of 1, f of 2, f of 3 will print. Ooh, interesting. So L has a value in the symbol table of the function, and that lives for the duration of that function. Interesting. So a function definition has the state associated with it, and you do this by adding that as a default value. Okay, so every function also has the default value associated with it. I see. So it appends and it returns. Okay. So if it is a mutable object, we end up having this problem. If it's immutable, I guess it doesn't matter. But if it's mutable, like the list is mutable. So every time we make a call, we are changing the value that we consider to be a default value. If we pass a value, I'm guessing that part is forgotten in a way. If I pass an array over here, it's forgotten. Let's try this out. This is interesting. I'm going to call this function default.py. Okay, so every time I'm calling f. I'm passing just a, right? The first time the function was defined, it created this array, right? Now, every time I'm calling it, it's modifying that array that it created, that list that it created at the beginning. So every time I pass something, it's changing it. Now, what happens if I pass print f of 4 and then I pass an empty array? This should not change it. This should not change it, right? It should not modify the default array. And now if I were to pass 5, it should go and update that array that was that list that was over here, which is the default value. You folks following this? I don't know if I am. Yes, my suspicion is right. So every time I'm leveraging the default value, I have to assume that the default value is remembered. It stays there in the symbol table, right? If it's immutable value, then it doesn't matter, right? It just gets the new one. But if it's a mutable value, then that mutable value is going to be mutated every time I'm not passing that second argument. So it is going to change it. So that's the reason why each time I don't pass that second argument, it's updating the default value. And when I pass that argument, it's going to leave the default value as is. It's going to leave it alone, and it's going to use this one. And now when I don't use it again, it's going to pick the default, that mutated default value, and it's going to mutate it further. Cool. All right. So if you don't want to do this, don't want the default to be shared, you can write a function like this instead. Initialize it to none. And if it is none, you put this thing in here. So it is not going to be the default value. I don't know how I feel about this feature. It seems like it's a little hacky. But considering that that's how it's using it, it makes sense. All right. Or just don't use default values for mutable data types, I guess. All right. So with this, I am going to wrap up today's session of learning Python, or attempting to learn Python. I think we made some good progress and got a little bit of a feel for Python, just dipping our toe into the waters. Any questions? I have a couple of minutes. I can answer any questions before we wrap up. Any thoughts, comments, questions? This feels weird. Yeah, it was kind of weird, right? That the default value thing is like I wouldn't have expected it. And I'm glad I read the documentation. It was fun to watch. Had fun hanging out in the stream. Thank you. Thank you so much for hanging out. And thank you for being such an active participant. You kind of unblocked me a bit, okay? So I really hope you're around when I stream next. But again, it's hard. I cannot promise when I stream. So yeah, hopefully you do check out. You seem to know more Python than me, so I'm surprised you're here. But please check out and let me know how you find it. Bala, thank you again for the kind words. It was nice for all of you folks to hang out with me and be a part of this journey. Hope you learned some Python. It's 2:45 a.m. Oh my goodness. My apologies. I don't have control over when I stream. Thank you so much for sticking around. It's been so long, so late. Thank you. I have a mechanical keyboard, but I'm using my laptop keyboard right now because of a weird setup that I have going on. So I have my laptop and my computer monitor. I have OBS, so I need to be able to see the OBS screen and my laptop separately. This makes it easier. So I'm not using a mechanical keyboard right now. All right. Well, thank you all. Hope you have a good rest of the day or good night. And the Python saga will continue. Stay tuned.